Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for this hearing. I have to admit, whenever I saw the subject line of this, I was surprised that this was a thing. I'm shocked. I think the American people should be even more shocked to find and disgusted to find out what's happening with their dollars. I think it's actually embarrassing. I can imagine people from other countries look at this country as a beacon and as an example, and here we are spending money, taxpayer dollars, to try to study transgender transing animals and testing them on party drugs. I mean, it's insane. My question to you, Mr. Goodman, is I understand that your organization, White Coat Waste, helped expose the taxpayer-funded experiments on bats that led to the COVID pandemic. So can you walk us through how did you come about that? What was your investigation? How did you get the information?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Again, it's an honor to be here. In 2018, we uncovered a lab at the USDA here right outside of the Beltway where they were breeding hundreds of kittens every year and then flying to China and other foreign countries to these disgusting wet markets and buying dog and cat meat. They were then putting it in their federal employees. They were then putting it in their carry-on luggage, flying it back to the United States, and then force-feeding dog and cat meat to kittens in this government laboratory in Maryland. They had spent $22 million on this project.
For what purpose?
They wanted to know if people eating dog and cat meat in China might be exposed to a particular parasite that could be carried in dog and cat meat.
Wow.
So that was when we first got a sense that taxpayer
that was
dollars.
That was the first clue.
Yeah.
And you continue to follow that.
And fortunately, the Trump administration shut that project down. They adopted out the cats who were left in the lab. 2 of them went to live with my boss, the president and founder of White Coat Waste Project, Delilah and Petite. Lived happily ever after with him. But that set us on the scent of foreign aid for animal research. In late 2019, we discovered a list on the NIH website of all the labs in China receiving taxpayer dollars. And in January of 2020,
There's like still 26?
Yeah.
Or how many were there at that?
There were more than 30 at the time, and there were actually labs in Russia receiving taxpayer money at the time. In January of 2020, we met with the White House to flag for them that these labs in China, including the Wuhan lab, were receiving taxpayer funding. And then in April 2020, we finally went public, working with Congressman Matt Gaetz and Joni Ernst. We went public, exposing the grant that Fauci sent to the Wuhan lab through EcoHealth Alliance to fund the gain-of-function experiments. And then since then, we've been working to defund EcoHealth, defund the Wuhan lab, and cut funding for all animal laboratories in adversarial nations as a matter of animal welfare, government waste, and national security.
What kind of sick and twisted individual comes up with a plan to have an experiment where you're going to feed turn these animals into cannibals and see what the outcome is? Where does that come from? Like, what was the thought process? How did the PhD student who's doing the research, how did they make that pitch to get that grant?
If it tells you anything about the government's thinking, the person responsible for this experiment is in the USDA's Hall of Fame.
The name?
Dr. Doobie.
Dr. Doobie, wow. Let me ask this question. I just have a little bit more time left. Given the fact that we have got quantum computing, we have now AI, isn't there opportunities where we can, if they truly are trying to do research and determine something, couldn't they run some of these, a lot of this research through, advanced technology using quantum computers, data centers?
Absolutely, and there's studies that have come out of Johns Hopkins and elsewhere showing that things like screening drugs and chemicals for human safety are actually much more accurate and efficient using computer modeling and AI than testing on lab matter.
On a completely different species.
Correct.
Right? With completely different DNA. It would make sense. Thank you. I appreciate what you do. Thank you for exposing all of this. It's shameful that we're still sending money to these, but I will do everything we can to try to stop this.
Thank you so much.